The refugee transport landed on Station Kepler 7 with a hiss of depressurizing airlocks. William Chen stood at the docking bay entrance, datapad in hand, watching as the survivors filed out. 300 souls from the Vryn colony world of Tessara Prime, all that remained after the Korthax invasion had scorched their planet. As the station's human xenobiologist and chief medical coordinator, William had processed countless refugees over his 15-year career. He'd learned to maintain professional distance, to see the patterns of trauma without drowning in them. But something about the small figure at the back of the line made him pause. She couldn't have been more than 7 cycles old, a Vryn child with iridescent blue skin and large, luminous eyes that seemed too old for her face. She clutched a tattered cloth bundle and walked with the careful steps of someone who'd learned that sudden movements brought pain. "Name?" William asked gently when she reached his station, kneeling to meet her at eye level. "Kiara," she whispered, her voice like wind chimes. William ran through the standard medical screening questions, noting her responses with growing concern. Malnutrition, sleep disturbances, the telltale signs of post-traumatic stress that transcended species boundaries. When he asked about family, her eyes became distant. "Gone," she said simply. "The fire took them." Over the following weeks, William found himself drawn to the small refugee. Kiara attended the station's makeshift school with other displaced children, but she rarely spoke or played. She sat alone during meals, picking at her food with mechanical precision. The station's counselors reported minimal progress. William began bringing her books from the station's library during his rounds, picture books about Earth's oceans, mountains, and forests. Kiara would accept them with solemn gratitude, her fingers tracing the images of places she'd never seen. Slowly, incrementally, she began to open up. "William," she asked one day, her common tongue heavily accented, "why do humans help us? We have nothing to give." He considered the question carefully. "Because it's right. Because anyone who can help and chooses not to isn't really living up to what they could be." She tilted her head, processing this. "The Korthax said weak species deserve to fall. They said helping others is foolish." "Then the Korthax understand nothing about strength," William replied firmly. 3 months into her stay, Kiara began following William on his medical rounds. She'd watch with fascination as he treated patients, asking questions with the bright curiosity of a child finally finding something to anchor to. William requested permission to take her on as an informal medical apprentice, and the station commander agreed. One afternoon, they were inventorying medical supplies in the storage bay when Kiara suddenly went still. The temperature controls had malfunctioned and the room had grown uncomfortably warm. "I'm hot," she announced matter-of-factly, reaching for the hem of her shirt. "Wait," William began, but she'd already lifted it. His breath caught in his throat. Her torso was a landscape of scars, burns, cuts, and marks that could only have come from systematic torture. They crisscrossed her blue skin in patterns that spoke of deliberate cruelty, of pain inflicted not in the chaos of war, but in the cold calculation of someone who enjoyed it. Kiara noticed his expression and looked down at herself, confused by his reaction. "Oh, these." She spoke with the casual tone children use for ordinary things. "The Korthax soldiers did this before the fire. They wanted to know where the other families were hiding." William felt something break and reform inside his chest. His hands trembled as he carefully lowered her shirt back into place. "Kiara," he said, his voice rough with suppressed emotion. Did you tell them?" She shook her head. "Papa said protecting others was what brave people do, so I was brave." She said it simply, as if describing the weather. William pulled her into a gentle embrace, feeling her small frame against him. This child, this impossibly courageous child, had endured horrors that would have shattered adults, and she'd done it to protect others. She'd survived not through hate or desire for revenge, but through the same principle of care for others that he'd tried to explain to her weeks ago. She'd already understood. She'd always understood. "You are so brave," he whispered. "You are so brave, and I promise you, I swear on everything I am, no one will ever hurt you like that again." Kiara pulled back to look at him, and for the first time since he'd met her, he saw tears in her luminous eyes. "Promise?" "Promise." That evening, William submitted formal adoption papers to the station administration. It would take time, require approvals from both Earth authorities and the Vryn Refugee Council, but he didn't care. This child had shown him what true strength looked like, and she'd done it without weapons or violence. The Korthaks prided themselves on their warrior culture, their survival of the fittest philosophy. They believed compassion was weakness. But William knew better. Humanity had learned over centuries of its own brutal history that the strongest civilizations weren't built on domination. They were built on the radical, defiant act of caring for those who couldn't protect themselves. Kiara had endured torture to protect her neighbors. She'd survived genocide and emerged still capable of curiosity, trust, and hope. If that wasn't strength, nothing was. And if humanity could give her a home, a future, and a reason to believe that the universe still held kindness, then they would prove that compassion wasn't weakness at all. It was the most powerful force in the galaxy.